Welcome to Competition Curious, a blog, vlog, and podcast for business owners and marketers who are curious about running competitions. I am Suki Van Kay. I am your host, and I am the world's first and only dedicated expert, strategist, and complete nerd when it comes to competitions. I want to answer a very common question that I get asked when it comes to competitions, and especially when it comes to people running competitions for the first time. And that is, what will happen if no one enters my competition? Now, I completely get it. You've put a lot of effort and your heart, and most likely your soul, into running this competition. So you want to make sure that people are actually going to enter. Now, when competitions are open, I usually have a checklist and a report that I will run weekly or daily to check on the health of the competition. But we can also flip this on its head and look at what we can do and what we can become familiar with in advance to make sure that people do enter your competition rather than waiting to launch and then seeing if people enter your competition. So I want to share that with you on today's podcast. So if you're ready and you're curious, let's dive in. Okay, so my first port of call when it comes to making sure that a competition gets entries is to make sure that there are no technical problems stopping the people who want to enter from entering. So this means making sure that your competition is visible, making sure that your competition is enterable, if that's a word, it is now, and also making sure that you can see the entries being recorded on the back end or in your email provider or wherever it is that you're collecting your entries. So if you're planning to run your competition on social media, to make sure that you get entries, there are a few things that you might want to do to guarantee this. So first of all is to make sure that your post is actually published. A lot of people will schedule their competition posts in advance using Facebook's inbuilt scheduler, for example, via business.facebook.com, or a third-party paid scheduling program. So you want to make sure that, especially if you are using a third party or Facebook's platform, that you get the time of publish correct, because sometimes they can be in a different time zone. So the first thing you're going to want to make sure you do to get entries is to make sure that your competition post is published correctly at the time that your competition opens. You're going to want to make sure that your account is also public. Chances are, if you already have an active social media account, that your account is public, but for some people who may be launching a business for the first time and have kept their account on private until they're ready to launch, make sure that you do change this. Otherwise, I can guarantee you no one will see your posts and no one will enter your competition. You're also going to want to pin that competition post to the top of your feed. Once it is published, this is the best way to make sure that people see your competition and make sure that they enter your competition from social media. If you are hosting your competition via your website, you are going to want to make sure that your page is scheduled to be visible on the date and time of your competition open. So some people will draft their competition entry page and then hold off on publishing it until the time of their competition. So again, check those time zones, check those publication dates and times to make sure that when your competition's open and you start promoting it, people can actually access and see the page to enter. You're also going to want to make sure that you give your audience the maximum opportunity possible to hear and see about your competition. That means on your website, adding something to your homepage to direct them to your competition. On your social media, potentially changing your header, your bio, your links, pinning the post to the top of your page, as I've mentioned, without making sure people can actually physically enter without technical problems and they can actually see it, is going to guarantee you will get entries for your competition. Okay, Suki, what happens if people are seeing my competition and they are still not entering? Never fear. Sometimes it can be an issue of who is seeing your competition, not just whether they are seeing your competition. So for this, we are going to want to delve into your analytics or insights. I always recommend, if you're running your competition via your website, to set Google Analytics up in advance if you haven't already. And for those of you running a competition or planning to run a competition via social media or using a third-party competition app, you'll want to check reports or insights in the back end of the platform to see what type of people are seeing your competition, how often they're seeing your competition, and what they're doing in terms of clicking through and engagement. Now, people can only enter your competition if they have seen your competition. So it's important to find out where your reach and impressions analytics are before you launch your competition. Now, impressions are the number of times that your post or your competition or your page has been seen. So one person could see your competition multiple times, which is why your impressions will usually be higher than your reach, which is the number of unique people who have seen your competition or page or post. So familiarize yourself with the demographics or the gender or the age or the location statistics that you'll find in your insights or analytics. This will tell you, once your competition is open, who exactly is seeing your competition. Now, if you've done your homework properly and if you followed the OrigamiGlobe process, you will know that part of strategizing your competition and planning your competition is to get a strong idea of who your ideal entrant is. And in fact, an entire lesson is dedicated to this in the competition master course. I will pop a link for that down below. If your ideal client is a person who identifies as a female, who lives in Sydney and is age 33, you're going to want to make sure in your analytics that mostly people who identify as female are seeing your competition, people who are living in Sydney are seeing your competition, and people in the 30 to 39 age range are seeing your competition. If you see that it's mostly males who are seeing your competition, or if it's mostly 60 plus, or if it's people who live in the USA, for example, then you know that the wrong people are seeing your competition. And this is less likely to result in entries, and it's less likely to result in entries who are going to turn into clients if your ideal client is someone who identifies as female, lives in Sydney, and is in their 30s. Now, some analytics platforms or insights will also tell you what your visitors' interests are. So this can be helpful to think in advance what kind of things your ideal entrant will be interested in, so you can see if, once your competition launches, your interests that you think they will be interested in match what they are actually interested in by visitor. So what I mean by this is, for example, in Google Analytics, you can have a look at demographics and interests, and you can see there that people are interested in shopping, particularly fashion, particularly women's fashion, particularly Australian fashion, particularly sustainable fashion. And this matches with the profile that you had, or that we just talked about, of the person who identifies as female, lives in Sydney, and is in their 30s. So you know that the people who are visiting your competition are matching your ideal entrant's interests and are therefore more likely to enter. So it's important to think about in advance what your people may be interested in, so that you can check that the people who see your competition once it's live actually match who you want to enter your competition, to guarantee that you will get entries. The third way to guarantee you will get entries for your competition is to ensure that your prize is valuable. Now, when I say valuable, I don't mean high value. There's a very big difference between high value and valuable. The value of a product or service has nothing to do with the dollar value of that product or service. I have seen, as I mentioned last episode, competitions with $5 prizes that have performed far, far better than competitions with $20,000 prizes, simply because what they were giving away matched what people wanted to win. So make sure that your prize before you launch your competition is what your audience wants. And this is going to guarantee that people will enter. They will be excited to enter. They will be excited to win this prize. Deciding what you are going to give away and how much it's worth is just the first step. Once you've decided your prize, you are going to then need to describe that prize to your potential entrants in a way that is going to convince them to enter if you want to guarantee entries for your competition. This means you're going to need to describe it clearly, simply, and in an enticing way across all of your promotional material for your competition. Don't just focus on the what of your prize, but also outline the so what of your prize. You are not just giving away your bumper family planner, you are giving away your bumper family planner so that you never forget hubby's poker night, or you never forget your daughter's school play ever again. These are the things that are going to entice people to enter your competition and guarantee entries. Don't just tell people what they can win, show people what they can win. Have some really good quality photos of your prize available. Make sure you show the entire prize package if you're giving away more than one thing. Try different images that include people or pets or places or different color or on a plain background or user-generated content. Play around with images that are going to entice people to enter, that are going to show them what the prize is and get them excited about the prize. This is going to guarantee you more entries for your competition. Okay, so we've made sure that there are no technical problems stopping people from entering your competition. We've made sure that the right people are seeing your competition, and we've also covered a tempting prize to make sure that you get entries for your competition. What is left? The final way to ensure you will get entries for your competition is to have a look at your entry process, specifically whether you are asking too much from your entrants. Now, I've seen plenty of competitions where they ask their entrants for a name, an email, a postal address, a birthday, a postcode, a size, and answer a 25 words or less question, and this is simply too much information. There is no scenario in which you need to know someone's postal address before you've drawn them as the winner or before they've made a purchase and you need to send them something in the post. Keep your entry process as absolute bare minimum simple as possible to guarantee that you'll get entries for your competition. Think of it like this. Every single question that you ask your audience is like putting a hurdle up in front of them in a hurdle race. The more questions, the more boxes, the more steps, the more things you ask them to do, the more chances they will trip over and not make it to the end and complete their entry. For maximum entries, remove as many hurdles as possible. That means usually only asking for a name and an email for an enter your email to win competition. And for competitions on social media, it will depend on your goal, but it will usually, hopefully, only be a comment or a like or a follow. Just as with our prize, every time we mention our entry process, we need to describe it in as few steps as possible, as clear and concise and simple as possible. This may be a numbered list. Step 1, go here. Step 2, do this. Step 3, you're finished. Or this can be a sentence. For example, simply go here, do this, and you're done. Every time you mention your entry process, lay out the exact steps you want them to complete if you want to get as many entries as possible for your competition or giveaway. I have run a lot of competitions over the past decade, hundreds and hundreds of competitions, and I can absolutely 100% hand on heart say every single time I've been called in to look at a competition that isn't getting entries, every single time entries slow down in a competition, it is nearly always down to one of these 4 things. So if you're worried no one will enter your competition, here's what you need to do. Make sure there are no technical problems with your competition. This can be tested before you launch and should be tested after you launch as well. Technical problems are nearly always to blame for 9 in 10 of the cases where people are not getting entries. This is always where you want to start. Then you're going to want to make sure that the right people see your competition to guarantee entries. So get clear on who you want to enter your competition, what they like, where they live, how old they are, etc. And once your competition is live or even before, check your analytics to see if your current audience actually matches that and if they match that during the competition. Next, you're going to want to check in with your prize. Dollar value has nothing to do with how much your audience value your prize. So choose a prize that your audience truly values and are really excited to win. If in doubt, ask your audience what they want to win, and always please stick to your own product or service to guarantee you will get those right people to enter your competition. Finally, if you are still not getting entries for your competition or you're still worried that you won't get entries for your competition, simplify your entry process. You really only need to be asking for one action to be completed or for an enter your email to win competition, a name and an email. Don't ask them to complete 5 or 6 different steps. I can guarantee you this will stop you from getting entries for your competition. Now, some of these things, for example, your prize, are difficult to change once your competition has launched. So putting in the time now before your competition launches to make sure that you set it up for success and for getting entries is going to avoid heartache later. So test it works, keep it simple, and appeal only to your ideal client. And I can guarantee you, your competition will be successful and you will have heaps and heaps of entries. Of course, the best way to guarantee that your competition will get entries is to join the competition master course. Yes, it's shameless plug time. I am running an 8-week competition master course, which is launching soon. The details and the dates will be in the link in the show notes below. Now, this is an 8-week course for business owners and marketers who want to learn how to create their own competitions in-house. It will take you from planning a competition, strategizing a competition, so you definitely make sure you will get heaps of entries, through to launching your competition, promoting your competition, advertising your competition, managing your competition, closing your competition, choosing your winner, and converting all of those entrants into lovely sales. So make sure you check the dates for that below in the show notes. Come along and join. You will be surrounded by some wonderful like-minded business owners, and you'll have direct access to me as an expert to make sure that your competition is the most successful competition that it can be. That's it for this episode of Competition Curious. I have been Suki Bankay, your resident competition nerd. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you have, I would absolutely love it if you could share it with your business owner and marketer friends. Please make sure you follow and subscribe so you can find out when the next Competition Curious episode is live. Don't forget to rate and review. Check out the show notes below, and I will see you for the next exciting episode of Competition Curious.